Ladies and gentlemen, I take pride in introducing the greatest show on earth.
Hi, everybody. This is Scott Gordon, and welcome to number 64 of the Uncle Floyd podcast. We're going to get going right away, and I just wanted to let everybody know to get questions into us. All you have to do is send an email to ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. That's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. And if you'd like to see some clips of the old Uncle Floyd show, hosted live by me, it's streamed every Tuesday night at 8 Eastern Time. Just go to theunclefloydshow.tv. That's theunclefloydshow.tv, and you'll get right to that. All right, as soon as the music finishes, we'll get going with this week's The Uncle Floyd Podcast. Okay, we got a bunch of questions from people. Kevin Dillon says, on last week's podcast, you were talking about Floyd's favorite music being from the 20s, 30s, and before. Tiny Tim was also known to be an expert regarding music from that era. When you guys met Tiny, did he and Floyd have discussions about this music? Yes, they did, constantly. We used to get into those discussions all the time. We'll talk about Van and Skank and all those people. Was Tiny aware of Floyd's record collection? Yes, absolutely. He and Floyd actually swapped records a little bit. Not that much, because they like to hold on to what they had. And Tiny would give Floyd some sheet music, and they would have a good time. This is from Fred Knapp. I found a clip of Floyd on the Steve Ames show. Would you have any idea why Floyd was wearing this ensemble, and why the earrings? Well, it's real simple, Fred. Those of you who want to see what Fred is talking about, just go to YouTube and search on Steve Ames show, that's AMES, and Uncle Floyd, and the episode will come up. Floyd is wearing a very nice-looking business suit. He has his toupee on, and he's also got an earring. Well, this business suit and the toupee was the way he would play when he was playing at a Italian club or a nice restaurant, and he was trying to get work like that. It paid very well, playing the piano and singing. And the earring was because we had a jewelry store as a sponsor, and they did a taping where they put an earring in Floyd's ear, and that's basically what that came from. So I hope that answered your question. Go take a look at that. It's a pretty interesting show. From Dominic Nunziato. He says, Scott, you did a great impression of Floyd in podcast number 63 when telling the bathroom story. You sounded just like him. Can you do other cast members, including the puppets? I don't know. I never tried. I'm sure I can. I was taught to do voiceover and character work by one of the best in the business. He gave me little hints, and it wasn't a formal training. It was just discussion and talking about technique. And that was Alan Swift. And he did a lot of voices on television. I'm sure you can remember, if you're old enough, if you're old like me, you can remember the commercial for High Karate Aftershave, where Alan Swift did High Karate Aftershave. That kind of voice. And he taught me the techniques of separating the voice into the different characters of voice and arranging it so that it sounded like the person. Now, I never tried to do the puppets or the other characters on the show, the other guys on the show, but I'm sure if I listened to the voices again and studied them, I could do it. So, that's that. From Susie Tannenbaum. You recorded about 20 years of the Uncle Floyd Show, which would otherwise be lost to posterity. Thanks for doing that. There were so many technological changes during those 2 decades. Did you always record on VHS tape, or did you use different formats over time? Yes, Susie, I always used VHS personally. There were other types of recording that were done in the studios. It was done with the professional type, with 3/4-inch U-matic tape. In a lot of cases, that's how it was sent to the studios when we were syndicated. But I never personally used them. I have a bunch of the 3/4-inch tapes, and I have a broken 3/4-inch machine that needs belts. So all it needs is belts, and I could get the information off those tapes. I think you've said that people gave you recordings of the show and you had to convert them. Yes, I converted all the VHS tapes, which I was given by people, to digital. I have them all on a hard drive, on an in-house cloud drive, where I store them, and that's the way that goes. Some of the stuff that we have was converted by a third party from the old quad tapes and the 1-inch tapes. Next, we have from Matt DiLorenzo in New York City. He has 2 questions. The show featured an astonishing range of guest musical acts over the years, from local New Jersey talent to major names. Do you remember any story about Floyd's reaction to a superstar guest, like someone unexpected who showed up and completely changed the energy of the episode? Nobody ever changed the energy of an episode. The episodes had their own energy, and a lot of the people who came in fell into the energy of the show, which is very evident by the show itself, by watching the show. But I can tell one story. Floyd was doing a radio show in Philadelphia. I don't remember. It was the morning show. I don't remember the name of the host of the morning show. But he was there, and we had a taping the next day. He comes into the taping, and we're talking to him, and we said, how'd the radio show go? Because we didn't hear the radio show up here. It was on I think it was on an AM station in Philadelphia. And he said, oh, it was great. Had a good time. There's another guest there, a guy I didn't know. Do you guys know about this guy? He's a guitar player from England, some guy named Ricky Claxton. We looked at him and kind of giggled and said, Floyd, that was Eric Clapton. He says, oh, I didn't know who he was. His second question from Matt DiLorenzo. You started as a rock and jazz guitarist and theatrical performer before becoming part of the Uncle Floyd ensemble. Was there ever a performance or moment on the show where you wish you could have pulled out your own musical chops live, but it didn't make the final cut? Well, I did play music on the show. I was the guitarist in the Ink Eradicators sketch, and that was actually me playing the guitar for that sketch. We did that live. But I stayed away from doing guitar in most cases because I was doing comedy and improv and sketches with Floyd when Muggsy showed up, and Muggsy showed up doing musical parodies, which I had never thought of doing at that point. So I stepped away from the guitar and let Muggsy do all the musical parodies. That was his gig. That was what he did. And I stayed away from doing it. Another guitar question. This is from Mike from Atco, New Jersey. I'm curious, Scott, did you take formal guitar lessons with Les Paul, or was it an informal tips and talk sort of thing? Everything that I did with Les Paul was done between the ages of 14 and 19. That was when I was hanging around at his house. And on a regular basis, that is. I always went back every once in a while to say hi and have some popcorn and maybe some coffee or something. And everything that was done was helping Les in the studio, sweeping up, working on. I still have a scar on my finger from Les and his brother-in-law, Wally Kamen, teaching me how to solder. And the scar is still on my finger. It's been there since about 1964. And I'm looking at it right now. If you go to my Facebook page, the picture's there somewhere in the photos. But during that time, every once in a while, Les would get tired and say, okay, come on, let's play something. And we'd pick up the guitar, and I'd play a little bit, and he'd play, and we just worked off each other. It was a real learning experience that way. And that's my advice to everybody who wants to play music. Get out and play. Get with other people. Play with other people. You learn more doing that than anything else in music. All right, we got a question from Phil Pagliaro in West Caldwell, New Jersey. Hi, Scott. You had mentioned in a previous podcast that you had Shakespearean training. Did you have aspirations of becoming a dramatic stage actor, or did you always have your sights set on comedy? How did that type of training prepare you for the improv comedy of the Uncle Floyd Show on TV and stage? Did you or any of the cast have any improv training prior experience doing that type of comedy prior to the Uncle Floyd Show? Well, you always mess around with your friends. That's improv comedy. When you're with your friends and you're doing silly stuff, that's basically improv comedy. But you are the character at that point. The way I approached the improv comedy was I would create the character. I would create the backstory for the character. I knew where the character lived, what color underwear they wore, all that. That would be my basis for the improv. I would know how that character would react to any situation. And when we put the characters in the situations, I would have the character react. It wouldn't be me. So Chuck Littlehat was Chuck Littlehat. He would react the way he did. Dr. What's the Matter would react the way he did. And that's how the improv worked with the Uncle Floyd Show. And we never know which way it was going to go. Of course, there were certain lines that we always said to each other. There was always in the back of our mind that whenever a certain situation would come up, we'd say that line. Like Floyd would say to Skip Rooney, go ahead. Skip would say to him, who are you calling a gourd head? And that was the way he would react to that. As far as the Shakespearean training and my aspirations, yeah, I wanted to be an actor. I got into acting in high school, and that was it. I had to do it. I had to perform. Well, I always was a performer. I actually started out as a magician at about 10 years old. I got my first paying gig from relatives at 10 years old doing a magic show. I'm actually fairly well known in the magic performance community. You can find me on several of the magic websites discussed. If you want to check one out specifically, go to p-e-a.org. All right, p-e-a.org, and look at the About Us, and you'll see pictures of the founders with me and the other 4 people who founded this organization. That was an interesting question, Phil. I like that. From Dennis DeLeo. You've often spoke of working in theater. Oh, this follows well. What were some of the characters you played on stage, and what shows were you in? Also, have you ever appeared in any movies or television shows? I've done some stunt work on TV shows. You wouldn't recognize it's me. It's just stupid stuff, falling down, getting splashed with water, junk like that. And one show that I did where I was actually kind of featured was Raven Simone had a show called, it was a talk show called Positively Raven or something like that. It was a talk show that she did, and I was in one of those episodes as a lead out from the show into the commercials. I was in a shower with a cigar in my mouth, getting water poured on my head where I would make stupid comments like, Raven will be raving some more when we come back. And that was one of the TV shows that I did where I actually appeared in it. I'm in the Ramones Raw DVD collection. We've got some of the Uncle Floyd Show segments in part of that DVD. It's in the archive footage in there, and you can see that. Plus, Floyd and I are both in the movie Mother's Day, which is a slasher film, and you hear our voices. It's like they're watching the Uncle Floyd Show, the serial killers. Now, as far as stage work, I could go on probably for about a half hour with that alone, but we're just going to go with a couple of the ones that I had most fun doing. I played the I played the guy, Chick Clark, who was an antagonist in My Sister Eileen. That was a very interesting part. You check My Sister Eileen. Chick Clark was a guy who came in and was very annoying to Eileen. I played the captain, the ship captain. It's listed as either the captain, as in the Broadway play, which I did a version of the Broadway play, or sea captain sometimes. And in the movie, it's listed as Captain Wilson in the musical Carousel. I did one of the narrator parts, Mr. Perry, in The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. In the play, there's a reporter interviewing a nun about how Jean Brodie affected their growing up. And that was basically the narration part, was the nun telling the stories of what was going on and then doing the flashback on the stage. I was Mr. Perry, who was a newspaper reporter. Now, let's do some classical stuff. I played Alyoshka in One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, a Russian play. And I also, the thing I'm the proudest of, is I had the lead in the Shakespeare play Richard III, which we did in the New Jersey Little Theater League competition of Shakespeare plays way back in the 70s. And we came in second. And the judge, after talking to me later, seeing me without the makeup and the harness that had me hunched over, he said, "Oh my God, you're that young? If I knew you were that young, you guys would have won." All right, those are the questions I have for this week. Now, if you have questions, I said at the beginning, I'll say it again, send them in to ufpodcast at sge-inc.com. Just send an email with a question to ufpodcast at sge-inc.com. And if you'd like to join us every night at 8, every Tuesday night at 8, we have a date at This Was the Uncle Floyd Show, which is a showing of clips from the old TV show, if you'd like to see some of them. Hosted live by me, and I answer questions that people ask in the chat log, and we have a good time. So to get to that, just go to theunclefloydshow.tv. That's theunclefloydshow, one word, .tv. It'll take you right to the way to get in and enjoy the stuff every Tuesday night at 8. And that's it for this week. Please send me more questions. I'll be glad to answer them. And we'll have some more fun. So this is Scott Gordon, and I just wanted to thank you. As Floyd always said, the most important thing to any show is you, the audience. You are the most important thing to any show. And without you, this wouldn't happen. I'd be sitting here talking to myself with no questions if it wasn't for the audience. So please, send in the questions, and I'll be glad to answer them on any subject, theatrical, television, radio. I've worked in all of them. I've worked in films. I've done stuff like that there. And I'll be glad to answer any question you have. So this is Scott Gordon, and we'll see you next time for the Uncle Floyd Podcast.
This program was produced in the studios of Scott Gordon Enterprises, Incorporated in Paramus, New Jersey.